This webinar is called The Answer to Life, the Universe and Selling. And it is not 42, it is simpler. Now, after the extremely bland description of my previous webinar, which was how to use LinkedIn to grow your network and generate sales, we thought that by offering something like Life, the Universe and Selling, it might be a little bit more interesting and get people excited about. So I am very excited about this one, and I know Bianca is too. So here's the thing, guys. People say selling is difficult, yet as sales trainers, I think both Bianca and I know that this isn't necessarily the case. So why do people find it so difficult? And during this webinar, by the way, guys, if you've got any questions, you can ask either on the Q&A bar or on the chat. Either way, makes no difference to us. We see all of it. So why do people find selling difficult? Because I think a lot of people are intimidated by sales or find it a bit of a confrontational thing. Now, I've delivered training to a lot of people. A lot of delegates have had successful training courses with me. And yet even some of the people that I've trained and Bianca's trained, some of our delegates still have difficulty with selling. So the reason that people find difficulty with selling, I believe, comes into two extraordinary factors, which we're going to be discussing in this webinar. So we're going to look at the reasons why people find selling difficult. And these two factors, combined with the negative emotion fear, ensure that all salespeople around the world that suffer from these two factors struggle to do the deals that they could do. And so we're going to share these answers to Life, the Universe and Selling, and explain these factors and demonstrate just how easy it is to overcome them. So as we said before, for everybody that's attended, as long as you send a little message to us somehow, which we'd appreciate, you'll get one of our free gifts. And we're not bribing you. You have to have enjoyed the webinar to get the free gift. And as long as the internet holds out, which is always never know when you've got stormy weather outside. So we've got free gifts, an enjoyable and interesting webinar, the beautiful Bianca, the hairy me, and hopefully we can together help you discover some of the secrets behind extremely good selling. So we're setting the bar high, but as a sales trainer and a speaker myself, I think we've got some really interesting points to raise tonight, and I think you're going to enjoy it. And I'm extraordinarily lucky to be joined in this webinar, and indeed within my business, by my amazing daughter Bianca. And the best way to introduce her is to say that she's a better salesperson at the age of, can I say?
Yes.
27, by far than I was at her age. And she brings a just different perspective to my business, and she challenges me daily. And when I say daily, I mean hourly. So, Bianca, what do you think we should start with?
I think we should definitely start with the fear, because the fear seems to get everyone. And when I say everyone, even if you're a full-time salesperson, myself included, we've all had the fear. So I think if we go into the sort of psychology behind that and show you how simple it really is, so that if any of you have the fear or know what I'm talking about, you can overcome it and prevent it from affecting you in the future.
So I want to ask the group, if you've had fear what's that? If you've had fear in sales, put a yes up. Or not?
Yeah, how many of you?
Yes, loads. They're all coming in now. Scared of fear of sales. Yeah. So I'm going to share something with you all. I had the fear. I had it bad. And when I say I had it bad, I had it so bad that when I was around about Bianca's age, I couldn't make sales calls. I literally got the shakes when I'd go to pick up the phone to make a phone call. I was working in commercial life insurance at the time. And they used to say to us, right, ring up the customers. Here's your lead list. give me the yellow pages, and you're starting with the letter A. And in the margins on the yellow pages, people had written waste of time because they'd rung them so many times. This is going back a few years. So in the end, I just got rejection because I was trained to say, pick up the phone and go, "Hi, my name is Adam Caplan from life insurance company. Like to talk to you about your life insurance. Hello. My name is Adam Caplan from life insurance company. Like to talk to you about your hello." That was my experience of sales. And it got so bad that I took hypnotherapy to try and get over the fear of picking up a phone call on a Tuesday morning for cold call morning. They did bring pizza in for us, which was great, but that was it. That was my experience of it. And that started me on the route of learning about doing sales training and learning from some of the greats like Warren Gresh's or Zig Ziglar, both of whom I've been lucky enough to have met, and build up this understanding of why was I failing? Because I started off as a good salesperson when I didn't know what I was doing, but the fear and the incorrect methods completely destroyed me. So before we even talk about the fear, and the fear is caused by incorrect process and not understanding, and that amount of rejection building up again and again and again, let's talk about what selling is and what selling isn't. Now, some of you on here will think that selling is getting the customer to buy your product, convincing them to do it, persuading them and stuff like that. Wouldn't you agree, Bianca?
Yeah, I've met quite a lot of salespeople that think that, and it is, yeah. I think there's a divide between salespeople. Not everyone believes that, but a lot do.
No, that's what I'm saying to you. That this is the pre-concept of it. So for me, selling is helping. Bianca,
right.
you are the clear one. Should we do it? Shall I come to you?
I think you got to come to me.
Do I? Okay. In that case, we're going to join forces. I'm going to leave. I tell you what. You take the screen off. We'll leave my screen on, and I'm coming to you. See you in a minute, guys.
Okay. But yeah. So how many of you here are salespeople? I'd love to hear from you. Do write in. Here he is. Okay. We might need to take.
Yeah, we'll take the. Oh, it might work. It works. So here we are together. So look, here's the thing. And thank you very much, Chris, for that. And well done, Bianca, for holding the fort for that time.
That was honestly the quickest exit. Okay, so really what selling is helping the customers to make the right buying decisions for them. So yes, essentially when you call someone up or when you speak to someone, it might not be that they even know that they want or need your product or service. However, the only way to really find out if it is the right product for them is...
I'm going to turn off my connection like Kay said.
Oh, okay. Okay, Dad's going to go turn his off. But the best way to do this is to ask questions and to ask the right questions. So some of you, if any of you are in sales or have had any sales training before, you'll be familiar with the term KYC. This means know your client. So the only way we can get to know our client is by asking the right questions. So it's really important for salespeople, for yourselves, in order to achieve your desired goals, to be asking the right questions to see if it is something that is suitable for them. And if you have an array of products or services, then you'll be able to see which is best for your customer. And Dad, I'm recording, so you don't need to have it up at all, really.
Yes, I can leave.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, so it's really, really important to be asking questions. Now, the thing is with asking questions is some people do get the fear, and we will come on to that. But funnily enough, one of the most important thing about asking people questions is that you are actually controlling the conversation, and it will be the customer that is doing most of the talking. We might have heard of the phrase telling isn't selling. Actually, it's good to let your customer do the talking, build that rapport, build that trust with them, and then you'll be able to see whether this is whether what you're offering is relevant for your customer and what product or service is the right one for them.
Very good, Bianca. What she said. I think it's very, very important to have the right ethical attitude towards your customer. So I think for me, the biggest issue is this: ethical selling is the only selling that I think salespeople should be doing. Otherwise, for me, you're little more than a con artist. Don't take that wrong if you're doing unethical selling now, because maybe you didn't realize. Going forward, you now realize ethical selling, and that means professional selling starts with the attitude and ethos to do the right thing for the customer, and that means finding out everything about the customer and about whether or not they should be buying your product before you even start to sell it. Asking yourself, if I was in their shoes and I absolutely knew everything that I know about the benefits of my product or service, would I buy it myself? If the answer is yes, then sell the product. If the answer is no, then do some more research to find out whether or not this is the right thing for the customer. Now, a lot of people, this flies in the face of a lot of conventional sales training concepts and theory, which says, assume that the customer is going to buy. Don't stop to question whether or not they think it's right or not. Just sell, sell, sell. Personally, I'd rather not do the deal with a customer if it was the wrong thing for them, because if it is the wrong thing, they're going to turn around and ask for their money back at some point, or they're just not going to buy from you again, and they're not going to recommend you. They're not going to be telling people about the great service that they did. I had, in fact, I think one of the our people on here today, yes. So somebody on this listening to this webinar today, I had a sales conversation with, and during that conversation, it was really apparent that we have a program called Level Up LinkedIn, which is where we target, we help people directly get to customers. But it became very apparent that he was not a suitable candidate for our Level Up service, and that he should do a very, very different process that wasn't billable by us, which gave us some help, but he wasn't the right client for us. And I told him so. I said, look, this isn't the right thing for you. What you need to do is X, Y, Z. And I believe that that's what they've done. So if they're not the right client, why would you want to sell to them? Why would you have that ethos of do the deal at all costs? Customer, the phrase, the customer's always right. I think the phrase should be changed to, what the customer should buy is what's right for them. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we definitely teach that everything should be customer focused. And really, how are you going to find that out? Ask the right questions. It's so important, and it is one of the simplest things to learn. And if you can nail that, then you're on the right track. I also just want to go off on a little bit of a tangent and talk about persistence in sales. I know, especially from working with some of my clients on our Level Up program, and just from being in sales pretty much my whole career in general, some people have the misconception that persistence is not good. For example, if you don't get a no, if you keep going, are you going to piss someone off? Well, the thing is, if you're doing it with the right approach, quite often, someone will come in probably quite far in. It could be months down the line. It could be quite a few touch points down the line, and say, I'm so sorry, I haven't got back to you. And more often than not, you can close the deal right there. And it can take months. In fact, you've got a really good example of this, which I think you should actually tell the group in a second. But don't be afraid. And this comes back to making assumptions. don't be afraid to keep contacting. Obviously, you don't want to contact someone 3 times every week necessarily. It depends, actually. It depends on what you're doing. But if you're a business owner and you're contacting someone about your service, it really does depend. But before I move on, I think you should tell the story about when you left the voicemails.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good example.
Okay, so at the beginning of my sales training career, so we are talking about, I don't know, 15 years ago. There was a client I wanted to work with, a large company called LexisNexis. I can name them actually because it's a client I worked with for many years. LexisNexis do legal solutions for lawyers, courts, accountants and stuff. So I was trying to get hold of the sales manager for the telesales team, and I knew who he was, but he was a busy man. So I would ring and leave a message. First time, this is 15 years ago. The world was slightly different. So we had telephones, but we didn't have, not everybody had mobile phones, for example. Email wasn't so prevalent. Certainly there wasn't all the additional things like LinkedIn and everything else to get hold of it. It was very much an old school process. So I'd leave a voicemail. Voicemail was, "Hi Stuart, Adam Caplan here from Cellular Attitude. I'd like to ring and talk to you about our sales training." Gave it a week, left my number, of course, no answer. So I rang up on a Friday, said, good morning, Stuart, Adam Caplan here, Cellular Attitude. Just before the weekend, I thought I might like to give you a call to see if you're interested in having a chat about sales training. Hope you have a good weekend. I'm going to be playing a bit of golf this weekend. Hopefully the weather's good. Take the dog for a walk and nothing like that. I'll give you a call on Tuesday. Probably about 11 o'clock. Have a good weekend. Tuesday at 11 o'clock, I'd ring and leave a message because I wouldn't get through to him. "Hi Stuart, Adam Caplan here from Cellular Attitude, talk about sales training. I had a great weekend. I shot 91, wasn't great, had a couple of good shots. Had a great weekend, went out for dinner, blah, 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 blah. Dog had a good walk, forgot to take a bag, and everything else. Hope you have a good week. I've got some interesting stuff going on this week. I'd like to have a chat with you. I'll give you a call on Friday." On Friday afternoon, I'd ring and say, "Hi Stuart, it's Adam Caplan here. Look forward to yet another weekend. No golf this weekend. Might be going for a walk," or whatever. And I created this weekly phone call. And in the end, it became every Friday at about 3 o'clock. "Have a good weekend." And then I would call on a Monday, tell them how my weekend went. Friday, Monday, Friday, Monday. This went on for a long time, quite a few weeks. And then I would call back and say, "Hi, Stuart, Adam Caplan, good weekend. Listen, really excited. My handicap's coming down, nicely, etc. Going to see a film maybe on the weekend. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm going to call back next Wednesday at 9 a.m. Hopefully speak to you then." On Tuesday, the following week, I get a phone call from Stuart. He said, "Adam, hello, Stuart. Is this a convenient time to talk?" The first question I asked him, he said, "Sort of. I'm not going to be in Wednesday morning." I went, "Oh, okay. When would be a good time to talk?" He went, "Well, can you come in next Thursday," whatever day it was. I went, "Yeah, great. That's absolutely kind. What would you like to talk about?" He said, "I want to talk about how are you going to do sales training, how are you going to teach my salespeople to be as persistent as you without annoying me. And I would like you to ring anyway and let me know how your weekend went, but not on Wednesday because I won't be." Anyway, long and short, I worked with them for 5 years before he retired and moved on, and they took everything overseas. And it wasn't persistence in terms of pushing. I just didn't give up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lesson there for all of us about the importance of pushing on. I have got clients that I work with. I've got a client I've worked with almost since day one of my sales training business, still a client of mine. Sometimes I don't get hold of them for 3 or 4 weeks if I'm trying to speak to somebody, but I know that they'll call me back eventually. And other clients that I've been working with and started to work with, I've been trailing them for 9 months, and I've got a very new client who's about to start with us. And I think this started in November last year. We had the first conversation in November last year. And I know we've had the pandemic and everything else in the middle, but really long time to build up a relationship with people. Sometimes you can build up a relationship and it's instant and you immediately with them and you go from there. And sometimes it takes a much, much longer time.
Yeah. And I think also with persistence, again, a lot of people assume that persistence is bad in sales. And go
What do you
on.
mean, Bianca?
So what was it? What is it that you said earlier?
Assume. So I'll talk Bianca a little thing about when you assume, you make a
ass out of you,
ass
out of you and me.
Assume.
So I tell all my clients this. This is something you probably learn every sales training. If you haven't, you need to know it now. Never, ever, ever make assumptions in sales. And actually, you shouldn't really make assumptions in general, but it's very bad in sales if you make assumptions. And that is an assumption that persistence is bad. And recently, a client of mine was concerned about being persistent, and then she closed a very big client at the very end. And I said, "Look, it's amazing," because they were absolutely. Often people will apologize. "I'm so sorry, I haven't got back to you." And interestingly enough, from a psychological perspective, did you know that being ignored is actually seen as bad, or has a negative effect similar to bullying, and people don't like being ignored. So selling can be quite difficult in the sense that you do get ignored a lot and you do get a lot of rejection, and we're going to come into how that builds into the fear and how you can overcome that. But yeah, don't assume that they don't necessarily want to talk to you. If someone's not interested, they can just say, "I'm not interested." So technically, if you've not got a no, then they could be interested. They're just probably frantically busy, like most of us are every day. So interesting one.
Iden has said, my dad always said, assumption is the quickest route to an F up. So I'd like to talk about the first big assumption mistake made by salespeople. This is something you may well have done yourselves. So if you do, this is going to be quite key. So the first assumption that salespeople make, and they may well have been trained to do this by their sales manager or their colleagues or their sales trainers, but the first big assumption that the salesperson makes is to assume that the customer is going to be interested in their product, or act like they're assuming they're interested in it. I cannot tell you what a big error this is. Okay, so if you think about it like this, if somebody rings you up and is trying to talk to you about a product and assumes that you are interested in it, how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel valued? And does it make you feel important? Or does it make you feel sidelined and unimportant? Excuse me. So the reason that they say this, the reason that salespeople or sales trainers tell people to do this, is they're saying, look, they call it the assumptive close. You assume that the customer is going to buy because it shows how confident you are that they will buy. Yet, the truth is, from a psychological standpoint, this behavior is incorrect because it demonstrates to the customer that the salesperson, far from being confident by assuming, is not confident. Because if they were truly confident, they'd be quite happy to discuss the merits of the product with the customer, as opposed to fast tracking them through into buying it. Railroading tactics rarely work. Having the belief in your product, the rock solid belief that this product will help many people, is how to do this. And so if you try to do the tactics of the snake oil salesman by trying to bamboozle them with your amazing sales patter, all you're going to do is make the customer wary and start to think, am I being manipulated here? The truly confident salesperson does not need to resort to these underhand and sneaky tricks. Now, we've got some very good salespeople on this seminar, and one of them is a young chap called Iden. And the reason I say he's a good salesperson is because he doesn't resort to sales tricks. He genuinely cares about his customers. He genuinely wants the right thing for them. He never sells people things that are incorrect for them. And he does a huge amount of what Bianca calls KYC, or know your customer, to find out if this is the right thing for that particular person. Now, he works in property, but it doesn't matter. Whatever he sells, he would say the same thing. So you want to get to know your customer. You want to find out whether or not your product or service is going to be suitable to them before you sell. And this is, I don't think it's revolutionary, because it shouldn't be, but for some people, this is a revolutionary way of looking at selling. Before you sell, before you even start talking about your product, you ask questions to find out whether or not what you're talking about is right for the customer.
And that makes a lot of sense.
Of course it does.
Because otherwise you could spend, 10 minutes on the phone with someone. And how many of you have experienced a call where, and funnily enough, I got a call from a sales manager not that long ago, and it's lead generation, and just talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. And I put it on loudspeaker, and I was a dad, and I just looked at him and went, can't get a word in edgeways. And he doesn't, it's not even, I don't even want this service. He's not even asked me the questions to see if it's something that I would want or if it was relevant. So do you know what I did? I ended up selling to him, because I started asking him questions and realized that actually maybe he could do some sales training. But that's the thing. If you think about how many people he had to contact, he wasted so much time on the phone to me, just talking, not seeing if it was even a relevant service for me as his potential prospect. So it's so important, again, I'm going to say again, always ask the right questions, because that's the only way we're going to find out about who our prospects are and what they're looking for, and whether they're a relevant prospect, whether they're even a prospect in the first place.
Let me, can I talk about
Yeah.
the two? Right, fantastic. Thank you, Bianca. So there are two approaches. I'm going to call them salesperson A.
Oh, so does that mean I'm salesperson B?
You are salesperson
Bianca.
B. But in this instance, salesperson A is not the one we want to be like.
Exactly.
We want to be like the salesperson B for Bianca. So imagine salesperson A gets on the phone, and within the first 3 minutes, he said, my name is salesperson A, I'm selling this product, we want to talk to you about this. They assume that the customer's going to buy. They talk to the customer, push, and the customer's now started to feel a little bit railroaded and a little bit pressured into buying. On the other side, you have salesperson B, who in the first 3 minutes, all they've done is ask questions to find out whether or not the customer needs or wants what they're going to be offering. In other words, is what we offer going to be relevant to you? The call progresses. On the left-hand side, salesperson A is still making their play, and the customer is now alerted to the fact that salesperson A isn't really interested in finding anything out about them. He's just trying to pitch their product. And now they're starting to feel a little bit troubled and starting to ask the customer questions. Does it do this? Does it do that? Which again, the sales trainer or the sales manager of the unenlightened says, well, that's good. That's a buying signal. It's not a buying signal. It's a signal from a customer that isn't quite sure that they like what they're being here and doesn't quite believe what's being said. Meanwhile, on the other side, salesperson B, the Bianca, is still asking questions of the customer to find out whether or not this is the right product. Is this right for them? They haven't even started talking about the product. They're still finding out about the customer, what they do, how they operate, what areas they work in. Back on the other side, salesperson A is now on to his next customer, because the first customer said, no, not for me. I'll think about it. I'll let you know. He's a little bit, or she, should I say, they are a little bit downhearted, and now they're speeding up a little bit nervous, talking a bit quicker, pushing. They've got to get through the leads, haven't got a sale yet, bang on to the next one. Salesperson B, on the other hand, has now ascertained that in their mind, the customer or the service is going to be right for that customer. And now they're asking the customer questions such as, if you had this product or service that we're offering, how might that benefit you in achieving the goals you mentioned earlier? Now, that's a little bit of an unnatural way of speaking, but the point is, if you had this, would it help you in the way you said it would earlier? On the other side, salesperson A is on their 4th call of the morning. Salesperson B has now processed the order and is currently getting referrals from the customer who, delighted with how they've been treated, is suggesting new customers for salesperson B to call. In summary, the sales manager or salesperson that thinks that treating customers well takes too long is completely correct. If your requirement is to bash out hundreds of dials a day, as opposed to treating prospective customers as a valued customer from the outset. And this is going to talk about a very important point, Bianca.
Right, so salesperson A is thinking of the prospective customer as a prospect, while salesperson B treated the prospective customer as a valued customer. In both instances, the end result mirrored the outlook of the salesperson. How are you going to treat your prospective customers? As prospects or as valued customers?
So for me, if you treat the customer as a prospect, then do you know what they're going to be? A prospect. But if you treat that initial prospect as a valued customer from the outset, I believe you increase your chances significantly for them to become a customer. Now we have a question from Chris. I'm going to come to that in a second, Chris, because I think it's a key point you're raising there. So first thing, if you look back at what we talked about right at the beginning, we talked about the factors which stop people from being successful in sales. First factor is asking the wrong questions, or the ethical concept of treating a customer as somebody just to get deals out of, or even treating them like a prospect, because that means that you're not really interested in doing what's right for the customer. So that ethical position of saying, I want to help the customer first, as opposed to I want to help myself first, is a massive, massive game changer. You have to imagine that you're talking to a customer who's a very important, valued customer from the outset. Because the truth is, we treat our best customers with the best ability we can. Now, if you treat your prospects with the same attitude, the chances are, or the odds are, or the statistical evidence that I've seen, is that those customers become valued customers. And we do that by having that intention from within. That's the first thing. And the second thing, and that is going to lead on to your question, Chris, it's about when you talk to that customer, it's you want to understand them fully so that you fully understand what they think and what they need so that you can give them the best advice possible. Whether that's to buy your product or not buy your product, it's down to you understanding them. And the only way you're going to understand them is to ask the right questions. And now, what's go on, And?
Well, I suppose, Anne, we haven't actually mentioned this, but obviously asking the right questions is one thing, but also to be able to actively listen is so important. I actually can't believe we've not mentioned that.
What's that?
The way that to actively listen, because when someone
I wasn't there.
when someone's asking questions, if you're asking questions, you've got to really listen to the answers, because if you're not really bothered or you're not properly listening, then you're not going to be able to communicate effectively, and communication is key. So you've got to listen with intention also, because then you'll be able to understand about the wants and needs. You'll understand what they're looking for. And of course, then you'll become a better communicator. And this is something that we teach a lot in the psychology of sales, because communication is a core part of being a great salesperson.
That was brilliant. That was a fantastic plug. Really, you have been trained well.
Okay.
You are indeed powerful. Right. So hang on, if you don't mind me, let's look at what Chris said. So Chris said, I get the two-way discussion focus is on, is this right for you? To be open, develop an understanding of the customer's needs. Excellent advice. Thank you very much. Just thinking another session could be the best way to start a discussion. how to get their interest at the start of the call. So, you know, one of the things that I'm very excited to do is to literally share that with you, which was part of our plan anyway, because, you know, what you say to them, we've got a very, very cool process that we use. I have taught this to thousands of people. It's helped people open up customers. It's helped people get better, negotiate better working conditions. It's helped people find their life partner. It's caused divorces. It's done everything because it's what I call the assertive selling model. Very, very powerful. Now, I just said, treat your customers like you would your friends and family and try to put yourself in their shoes. If you have family like mine, no, I'm only joking. What are you going to say, Bianca?
I was going to say, as we move on to this method, it is available as a wallpaper on your iPhone, just if you're interested. If you really want to nerd out, it is available. But anyway,
you're a genius.
No, I forgot about that. It will become available. But let's share it.
So, okay.
Feel free to request.
So, really good point, Chris. It's well and good. How do you start the conversation off? How do you start to ask the questions? Now, just to rewind a bit, one of the challenges that every human being has, apart from some, is that you've been trained and indoctrinated by society not to ask questions. This started with your parents telling you to stop asking so many. You have to leave that drink. You have to stop doing that, Bianca, because it's a bit off-putting.
Sorry.
You've been indoctrinated not to ask questions. So when your parents were watching television and you've gone up to them and say, can I have this? And they're, stop asking, just do as you're told. Or when you've been asking teachers, why do we need to do that? Why do we need to do the other? You've been told, stop asking, this is just how it is. So society sort of teaches you to stop asking questions. And I talk about this in great detail in various trainings that we offer, the matrix module, as I call it. But believe me, you've been told that the best way to having success is to answer questions, not ask. How do you win the £1 million and who wants to be a millionaire? Answer 15 questions. How do you get a job? You go to an interview and you answer all their questions. How do you get your GCSEs? You answer all the questions on the exam. Society teaches you that to be successful in life, you have to answer the questions. How are you successful in selling? Ask the right questions. When would you like it? How many would you like? Would you like it in a pump or a loafer? Would you prefer red or blue? When would you like us to deliver? How would you like delivery? What method would you like to pay? All of these are sales closes, closing and selling, all of which are questions. Another thing that you don't realize is that all selling closes are all questions, and they're not necessarily closed questions like, would you like to go ahead with the order? Because the problem with would you like to go ahead with the order is that the answer could be no. When would you like to start the service? Much better. So how do you start it? How do you go back to that moment of truth? How do you go back to the moment of truth of that first time you talk to them? How do you ring somebody up cold and say, hey, my name is Adam Caplan. I got some sales training for you. You're going to love it. How do you do that? We obviously don't do it like that. Because they go, who? Who are you? So the assertive selling model is, I consider, the most ruthless way of selling, but it also happens to be the softest sales process I've ever used in my life. And it's terribly, terribly effective. And it uses the assertive model of behavior. And I've incorporated that with some very useful questions. So assertiveness works like this. Obviously, aggressive behavior is it's my way. This is what you have to do. Or as Nike say, just do it. Passive behavior is no, whatever way you want to do it. Or as Burger King put it, whatever way you want it, you got it. Whereas assertive behavior is win-win, both sides. You win and I win. I appreciate your way, however, this is my way. So the assertive model works like this. The first thing you do is you'll say, I appreciate, or I understand, or I can hear. There's a number of these, and we talk about this in, I think I've got blogs out on this, but I'll go through it anyway. I appreciate that you're busy, Mr. Customer. However, the situation is that I'm calling to have a chat with you about my service, which I believe may be of assistance. So I'd like to know when it would be a good time to talk to you about that. Would that be okay? So that's a tried and tested training thing that I use with people making cold calls. I appreciate you're busy. You may be busy at the moment. However, the situation is I'd like to have a chat with you about our product, or our service, which may be of assistance to you. And so I'd like to find out when it would be a good time to talk to you. Would that be okay? That's it. That can be used in, I appreciate that you've been listening to us for the last 45 minutes and you might want to leave. However, the situation is that we're just going to be getting to the really interesting stuff. So I'd like you to bear with us for another 20 minutes so you can see the true secrets to life, the universe, and selling. Would that be okay? I appreciate that you don't want to go ahead now. However, the situation is that we have a particularly good offer that would mean if you are interested in the product, it's going to give you the best value. So I'd like to look at different ways that we might be able to help you to purchase this product that you so clearly want. Would that be okay? And on and on and on. And so it's a very simple method. So if you want to write notes, you can, or you can email me and I can send you some links to some material about this. Okay, just as easy for me to do that. First of all, the acknowledgement. Bianca talked about the importance of listening. Here, you are actively telling the customer that you're listening and taking them into account before they start. So I always use the phrase, I appreciate, instead of I acknowledge, because it's a bit thing, but you're saying, I acknowledge you. So I appreciate you may be busy. I understand that you get a lot of sales phone calls. I appreciate that you may have an existing supplier. Whatever you think their first objection is going to be, is your first comment. I appreciate that. You could be busy, whatever the product is, whatever.
Or for example, if you're at the gatekeeper and they say, oh, we already have someone else at the service, you could say, I appreciate that you already have are using another company for this service. However, a lot of our clients say the same thing. However, they are now using us because our service offers much more than maybe what you're currently being provided. So would it be okay if I could speak to X, Y, or Z? Another
thing says, I appreciate you have a no name. You may have a no name policy, however the situation is. Anyway, I appreciate that. Acknowledgement is acknowledgement of the customer's first and main objection that you normally come across. So if they're busy, they don't take phone calls, whatever. And you can play with it, anything you want in there. You could even use it in a domestic situation, such as, I appreciate that you don't like going to see a science fiction film when we go to the cinema. However, the situation is that for the last 37 times we've been to the cinema, we've been seeing a rom-com. So I'd really like to know how it would be possible for us to go and see the latest science fiction film. Would that be okay? Followed by the divorce proceedings. But anyway, so unless you're into science fiction as well, in which case the conversation wouldn't happen in the first place.
You've got me for that.
Well, thank you for that. So, acknowledgement. I appreciate that. Now, what you're really saying there is, well, yeah, but yes, you're busy, but I want to talk to you about. Don't worry, Tom. There's loads of this to come. I'm going to be.
Tom's going to have it as his background before he knows it.
Yeah. Well, okay. I appreciate you saying to me, I appreciate being married. However, the situation is that I've been divorced twice already, and so I can really tell you what a divorce court looks like. However, I'm always hopeful for the next ex-Mrs. Caplan. But interestingly, Kay, you put in there, appreciate you like being married, but I would like to tell you. Now, in all joking aside, the key thing there is you've actually nailed one of the big errors that people make. And the big error is the use of but. But is a terribly negative phrase, okay? When you go, I appreciate that you may be busy, but I've got something to tell you, it's like saying, well, I don't care that you're busy. But if you go, I appreciate you may be really busy. However, and you can never change however. You can change I appreciate and play around that. You can never change the word however in this model. I can send this all to you anyway. However, the reason for me calling, this is the reason to buy. So the first one is the acknowledgement. The second part is the reason to buy. The reason I'm calling is to find out if our product or service is relevant to you. So this is the reason for your call. Be straight up about that. There's no need to hide around. There's no need to hide. You see, the point is about ethical selling, you don't need to hide. I want to find out, here's my concept. To sell effectively, I want to find as many people that are going to benefit from my service, that will want to buy my service. That's it. And the only way I'm going to find that out is by asking as many people as possible, are you interested in? Insert benefit of service there. So are you interested in your company and you selling more now? If the answer is yes, then we can have a conversation. If the answer is no, I'm not interested in selling more now, we're sold out, we haven't got any more ability to take on more customers or increase margins, okay, we don't have to do any business. But the truth is, that's what I need to do. So everyone that's selling has to find out, speak to as many people to find out whether or not their product's going to help. So I appreciate you may be really busy. However, the reason I'm calling is to find out whether or not my service is going to be relevant to you. Not you're going to buy it, just whether it's relevant. Acknowledgement followed by the reason to buy. Now, the next word can also never be changed. And the next word is so. Not and, so. So, I would like, which I always believe should stay as it is. So I would like to find out when it's a good time to speak to you. I would like to make an appointment to see you. I would like to schedule a call. I would like to know the best way for me to talk to you. Whatever you want comes next. And then the last section, a nice little pause, which I'm pleased that Chris said, is would that be okay? And that can never change. Would that be okay? It is the softest, most ruthless close known to man. Would that be okay? I've got goosebumps doing it. Would that be okay? So what you're saying is, I understand where you are. I acknowledge that you may not want to take the sales call. However, the reason for my sales call is, and so what I'd like you to do is make a time to speak to me. Would that be okay? And now when someone says to you, would that be okay? They genuinely go, oh, yeah. You go, okay, great. When would be a good time for me to call you back? And you specifically call them to make an appointment to call them. This sounds crazy, but literally call them to make an appointment to call them. Even if they say, I've got some time now, you go, oh, okay, well, I wasn't expecting that. Are you sure? Well, yeah, absolutely. Okay, then we'll do that. But I was really just calling to find out when it would be a good time for me to call you, because I appreciate you're a busy man. And so I'm making you the priority, not me. Putting the customer first, which is really important. And then they go from there. Tom Lee has asked, does this only work on phone or via email too? I have used it on email. I have used it on LinkedIn connection messages for our Level Up program. I've used it on WhatsApp. I've used it on texts. I've used it on almost every known communication media known to man.
He even uses it on his daughter.
I've used it in relationships. I've used it in it. Unfortunately, I'm so used to doing it now. I can't help but say, I appreciate that I'm irritating you, Bianca. However, the situation is that as your father, it is partly my job. So I'd like you to give me a little break and stop going on at me. Would that be okay? To which she normally gets very annoyed with me.
Or if I do it back, then you're a bit shocked.
Well, no, I'm never shocked, only proud. So the point is that this process of engaging customers, this process of talking to people is valuable. And if you know that in your pocket is the most powerful sales tool known to man, then you've got no fear. Because you know that if they go, I'm busy, or I don't talk to salespeople, I appreciate you don't talk to salespeople. However, the situation is that we're offering a service that is really going to help save you time. So I'd like to know when it'd be a good time for me to have a chat with you about that. And that's where persistence comes into it. Would that be okay? To which the customer goes, oh, well, I'm not the right person. Or you might go, okay, I appreciate you don't speak to salespeople. However, situation is that our product helps companies like yours improve their productivity. So I'd like to speak to the right person who does that. Would that be okay? The answer to would that be okay is either yes or unreasonable behavior. No, it wouldn't be okay. Okay, I understand you say it's not okay. However, the situation is that what we're doing is really going to help your company improve productivity, save money, whatever it's going to do. So I'd like to know why it's not okay. Would that be okay? And then you can just take it down there, and then in the end they go, oh, look, either put the phone down, or they'll say, no, you probably need to speak to purchasing. Fantastic, I really appreciate that. Would you be able to give me the name of the people in purchasing? I mean, you could be really cheeky and go, I appreciate you probably, you may not know the person in purchasing or have no name product, whatever it is, and go on with it. But the more you get used to it, the easier it gets and the more natural it gets. When you phone up to get a table at a restaurant that's fully booked, that's normally fully booked, you can go, I appreciate that you are fully booked. However, the situation is that I've forgotten to book a table for my anniversary. And my wife said to me last year that if I don't book this restaurant, we may have a problem with our marriage. So I'd really like to know if you can help me to save my marriage. Would that be okay? Unfortunately, it wasn't, and that's why we're on our second divorce. But hey ho, that's my fault for not booking it. I'm joking. We didn't get divorced over that. So I hope that was useful, Chris, and helped. And if anybody wants to get some more information about that, we're more than happy to do that. Okay, so we're up to the hour mark. I'm going to open up some questions now. Bianca, do you want to have anything to say?
Let's have some questions, and then I think we should go on to the fears. I know I've spoken to people in this webinar who have got the fear currently. So, if we can help anyone to overcome that, then that's brilliant. Anyone got any questions?
Let's go on to the fear. Okay.
So the fear, it definitely stops you from achieving your goals. All salespeople are sort of ruled by goals because we're all goal setters. We work to targets, to reaching goals. So it's a lot of aiming high. So when you have the fear, and I'm sure you'll relate with this, when you've got the fear, you end up feeling pretty diminished because you feel like you're not achieving anything. You don't feel a sense of self-accomplishment. And it can lead to quite a negative feeling because no one wants to get to the end of the day and feel like they've achieved nothing. So the fear doesn't need to be there. It's a mental block. Rejection is hard no matter whether you get it at any point in your life, whether it's a breakup, whether it's from a phone call, someone saying, I'm not interested, even if they told you to F off, it's, well, it happens. It's not nice. So why do we get the fear? And if you have leads in front of you that you can close, why are you not calling or approaching a customer? Why are you not doing it? And you said something really brilliant to me the other day about logic.
Yes. What did I say? It was so brilliant.
I can't reword it now. Well, it is illogical to, okay. So when you pick up the phone, no, I've got it. When you pick up the phone, okay, if you think that they're not going to answer or they're going to not be interested, if you don't pick up the phone, you're never going to find out. Okay, so if you think about it, let's say you've got the fear right now and you can't pick up the phone to call your customers or the leads, okay, you can't pick up the phone. Well, it's illogical because actually the only way you're going to find out is if you get a yes or a no. And you're not going to get that. So if you don't pick up the phone, you'll never get a yes. But if you pick up the phone, you've got 50% chance of getting a yes. So you're one step closer to actually closing a deal. You have to actually, and you might not be phone sales, it could be anything, but you have to actually do it. So you have to take the step into the deep end in order to do it. Otherwise, you've already been rejected. You're rejecting yourself, essentially. You have to just jump in. You're edging to say something.
Well, I am, but I'm also mindful that in a previous webinar, I got some feedback that said that I didn't let you speak and I kept interrupting you. So I'm doing my best not to interrupt you, because first of all, you're really very good, and I must have belief in you and not have the fear that you'll not know what to say. But fear is false evidence appearing real. See,
I knew you'd say it better.
And that's it. If anything, when we're scared, literally scared, we're scared of what could happen, as opposed to being scared of what does happen. What's the best response to put salespeople to give up calling you in a polite way? So you want to be able to stop salespeople calling you. Brilliant. So this leads on to what I was going to talk about next. So the fear is by you. What's the fear? That someone's going to ask you a question that you don't know the answer to. That's the fear. That's the fear of public speaking, because selling is public speaking. It might be one-to-one. It's public speaking. What happens if somebody asks me a question that they don't know the answer to? Right. I want someone to ask me a question that I don't know the answer to in this webinar. I hope we've got another question. Oh, it's the same question.
You have to press answer live, I think.
Oh, sorry. I don't know what I'm doing. How many miles to Jupiter? That's a really good question.
He'll probably know the answer, sadly.
So what's really important here is that, when we're talking about how many miles to Jupiter, it's saying to yourself, right, Jupiter's a long way. So I want to ask you a couple of questions before I answer that question, or attempt to. When you say how many miles, are you looking for an exact number, or are you looking for an approximation? Who's in control of the conversation now? I don't know, I'm going to throw you out the webinar now with your exact answer. Okay, I don't know the answer to that. However, the situation is that I think I can find out the answer. So will it be okay for me to come back to you with the answer to that question so I can get it for you? What is the ideal duration for an initial introductory sales call? Thank you, Nathan. That's even harder to answer than how many miles to Jupiter, because how many miles to Jupiter is an exact figure, whereas what's the ideal duration for an initial introductory sales call is not an exact figure. Bianca, how long should it be?
Well, I'd say that varied, and we actually had a discussion about this before the webinar, because I've been told by other sales trainers in sales jobs I've done. Now, I'm not blowing my own horn here, but I've often been. Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I've often been in the top field in all the companies I've worked at, and one of the reasons I've been at the top is because I really genuinely cared about my customers. A bit like what Adam was saying earlier, I really genuinely care. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy finding out and helping them make the right buying decisions. But sometimes I'd be told I spent too long on the phone. However, on the contrary, I was often bringing in the most money. So it's funny that that sales managers were telling me off for spending too much time on the phone, although I was closing more deals. So it's funny because other people will say differently, I'm sure. And that's I think a lot of people will have a different answer for that question. But I don't think there's a key. I think it depends on the customer. And if you're using the right techniques and the right approach, then it will vary. What do you say? I wouldn't put a number on it. Have you got a number?
My answer, I have an answer for you. Okay. My answer is, what are you looking to achieve on your initial introductory sales call? because the truth is, it depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you are trying to achieve the objective to find out an appointment for a 90-minute meeting, get a meeting, sell the meeting, whatever it is, if you are looking to make an appointment, then what you need to do is your objective in the meeting, the call, is to find out if they're going to be the right person for that meeting. Is it going to be right for them? Depending on how your pitches work and how your business works, yeah, that's very good, Nathan. Explore what the customer needs. But I believe the first thing you want to do, I mean, again, depends on the structure. Is it a structured appointment? Is it hang on one second. Let me finish. Is this a cold call? So in a cold call, if it's a cold call, I mean, an old school cold call, then your first objective is to make a second call where you can explore in more length. I appreciate you're really busy at the moment, Mr. Customer. However, the situation is I'd like to talk to you about something that could be very beneficial, and I'm going to need 15 minutes of your time. When would be a good time for me to call back to ask you a few questions so I can understand whether or not what I've got to offer is right for your business? Customer says, what's it regarding? Or the customer says, well, I'm really busy now, which you'd already acknowledged. Or the customer says, well, can you call back tomorrow? Either way, what you've demonstrated there is that you're more interested in the customer's schedule than your own. I cannot tell you how important that is in cold calling. You're literally changing. They're not getting phone calls like that. They're getting phone calls from people going, hi, I want to sell to you, blah, 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 blah. As opposed to someone saying, look, I've got something really cool to talk to you about that I think you could be interested with, but it's going to need about 15 minutes. When are you going to be free for me to do that? Customer go, what? What is it you're talking about? Okay, so can I just ask you, did you know, I don't know, let's just say, okay, can I just ask you, do you have a sales team that sells your products? Yes, fantastic. Okay, would you like them to get better results, have less stress, and for your customers to have better customer conversations? Yes. Okay. So it appears to me that we have something that is worth talking about. When can I schedule a call to talk to you? I've not told him anything. I've just asked questions to find out whether or not it's relevant. It seems like it's relevant. I'd like to talk to you about it. Have you got 15 minutes now? Well, no. Well, maybe. Well, when would it be a good time? Do you have a sales team? Yes. Okay. What sort of results have they been getting? Do they get stressed out? Do you find that they're making a lot of cold calls? Do you have to pay a lot for your leads? What sort of leads do you have? How do you get hold of them? How do you open it? How does the sales call go? What do they say? I mean, you're in. Bang. Straight like that. It means you've got to trust the customer. You've got to trust the customer to be interested in your product if it's right for them. And that comes from here. Now, I've got two really important things to talk about. The first thing is, and it's a question for everybody here, is it important that your customers like you?
Good question.
It is a good question. I'm assuming that the answer is yes. Because it is. It is important your customer likes you, okay? Because we like to work with people we like. Do you know the secret to getting people to like you? This is my favorite. Listen to them. People buy from people. Good one, Ray Smith. Nathan Redderby. Good one. What's the secret to getting people to like you? You can do it. You can do it. I have faith in you all. People, let them talk. Oh, that's a good one. Be genuine and listen.
Scott
Robinson.
No, Kay got it first.
Like them first. You like them first. If you like somebody first, they're going to like you back more likely. As Borat said, what did he say?
I like.
Yeah, Shamesh, I like you. And that's why they let him in. He must be a good judge of character. Like them first. Genuinely like people. I call this the Labrador behavior. Labradors love people. They go up being lovely. My lovely Labrador, who unfortunately passed away on the weekend, loved people, was always everyone's friend. And because of that, everybody loved him. I like to feel that I'm a bit like a Labrador, running up to people, wanting to play with them, wanting to be taken for a walk, and liking to lick people whenever they go near me. That's a Labrador. And that's the way to be. You did listen, Scott. I'm very impressed. Right. Like
Very wrong.
No, he's saying that because of my football abilities.
Oh, okay.
So, like them first. Now, if you like your customers first, your attitude. Mitch, shut up.
No one can see what he's actually written.
Really? I'm sure they can. It's shared chat, isn't it?
I think this is to all panelists.
Oh, is it? So Mitch Herbert's just put, believe it or not, 95% of all dog bites on humans are from Labradors. And that's because 98% of all dogs are Labradors. So, if you have the attitude of liking your customer first, of wanting to be their friend, then you're going to do the right thing by them, which is what we started off talking about in the first place. Now, if you like them, if you want to help them, and you're really interested in caring about them, then you're going to be asking the questions to find out if this product's right for them or not. And if you want a customer to trust you, what should you do first? And the answer is trust them first. Trust them to buy from you. Trust them to answer your questions. Trust them to talk to you once they've understood that you have got something worth talking about. Because if you go to a customer, I'm not sure if I trust you, then you're going to get people going, well, I don't think I trust you. So trust them first, like them first, be interested in them. And who's interested in you? In your life, who's interested in you? That'll be your friends and family. And how do they show they're interested in you? What do our friends and family do to show us they're interested in us?
Ask about your life.
They ask about your life. What else do they do, Bianca?
They are lovely and kind.
Yes, but they ask how you are, how you're doing, what have you been up to, what's new.
Showing interest by asking questions.
So, if you ask questions to show interest in the customer, how are you, how's things going, how's business, not, I hate the question, how are you today? Because generally you don't care. But if you say, how you find it, how's business, how you finding things, how's everything going, particularly nowadays in COVID land, then you get a great opportunity to really find out and build that relationship. And of course, as you're starting to chat, you're interested. And by acting interested in them, or being genuinely interested, which is much more important than acting, then you're behaving just like their friends and family, who they generally like and trust more than they do strangers, which means you're acting and behaving like a member of the clan. This goes back to deep human psychology. If you're behaving like the clan, then you're accepted into the clan. If you're behaving like the tribe, you're accepted in the tribe. So if you're asking questions and you're interested in them and you're being polite and you're being well-mannered, then you've got every opportunity of being accepted into the group. Whereas if you're going aggressive, talk faster, up come the shutters, up come the questions, and who's controlling the conversation.
Also, it's really positive, isn't it? It's positive to actually want to care, to genuinely care about your potential customers, and to actually intentionally speak with them with intention is a positive thing, and that will make you feel happier and more self-accomplished, and I know it bounces.
You bounced it.
So all in all, it's a win-win situation, because if you're not really being intentional, you don't actually care, then how is it rewarding for you?
So avoid fear by liking your customer and asking the right questions, because asking questions keeps you in control of the conversation. Care about your customer, ask the right questions. Bianca, what are the right questions?
Well, the right questions are asking about what they want or what they need.
Yep. Right questions are the questions that are going to find out everything you need about the customer, what they want and what they need. Asking them, if you're really being cheeky, and this comes with confident belief and practice, because believe you me, this isn't something you can't just suddenly go bang into assertive selling. It's a whole process of understanding. There's a lot more that we can cover in 90 minutes. But if you go and say, I understand, appreciate that you're really busy. However, the situation is that we've got some really interesting sales training concepts to share with you. So what I'd like to do is ask you a few questions to see if this is of interest to you. Would that be okay? And they go, yes, that's great. And I can talk now. Okay. So the first thing I want to ask you is, how do you like to be sold to? How would you like me to do this? Would you like me to ask you a load of questions to find out everything about you so I can really understand what it is you need and want, and if my product's relevant? Or would you like to tell me a bit about yourself so I can understand you? Which would be best for you? How do you like being sold to? Do you like to have phone calls and emails, or do you like to have a meeting? What is your preferred method of working with a vendor or a sales organization? How do you like to work? I mean, I've done this, and customers have said, well, I think this would be great. So if I do that, would that be helpful for you? Fantastic. What's your purchasing process? How do you buy? Do I need to make tenders? Before you talked about your product, you're talking about how they like to work. Now, if that isn't paying it forward to the customer, if that isn't showing that the customer's needs are above yours, the needs of the customer are greater than mine, then if that doesn't show that you care about them, then nothing else does. There's been a question, Bianca.
It's a very, very, very good question. Scott said, how do you give the product price, even though you know it's really expensive, but it's ideal for their needs? That's my fear. This is a brilliant question, because the price, even if somebody has the money, people will often say it's too expensive. It's one of the biggest resistances is price. And like what you said there, it's ideal for their needs. So really, it's about finding the value. And this goes back to asking the right questions. So if you know you've actively listened to the problems and you know you have a solution for them, then it will go back into the acknowledgement model and also asking more questions. So you know what product or service that you can offer them. So you say, okay, so based on what you've told or on what we've discussed, so you might repeat them, I'd really recommend that this XYZ, and it requires an investment of how much money. And they say, oh, I can't afford that. You could say, okay, I appreciate that you can't afford however much it is. However, based on what we've discussed, you have mentioned that this is it's really important for you to have blah blah blah. How would it benefit you having this product in your life?
I like to talk about, when I talk about price and price delivery, and our services are high ticket value, also deliver great response, so great value for money. So I would always say to people, look, whilst you're establishing the need, the interest, while you're finding out whether the product is right for them, is to also ask questions like, well, have you used a service like this before? What sort of things have you paid for in the past? And we're going to talk about a very complicated or complex concept, which we deal with in the last part of our sales training. So I'm only going to touch on it. And I don't want, at the risk of information overload, okay? But when you're dealing with price and you're dealing with people placing orders and you're dealing with everything, there are three ways, three states that you deal with. You can say to people, you can talk about it in the future tense. So what are you planning on paying for this product in the future? That is a very high pressure question because you're asking them to make a decision on a purchase in the future. You're saying, you're selling, you're trying to pitch your product. How much are you looking to pay for this next week and next year? Well, I've made all decisions about that. Our budgets haven't been set. Okay. How much are you looking at paying for this product now? Even higher pressure. Now you're asking them to make a decision of telling you what they want to pay today. High pressure. Now I'm going to show you how you do it. So in the past, what have you paid for this product in the past? Well, in the past, I've paid this amount, because you're not saying that you're going to be paying it going forward. You're just saying what I did in the past. Bingo. If they're interested, they bring it to the future. So in the past, have you ever used a service like this? Yes, in the past, I did this, this, which is a lot less high stake than saying, so are you planning on using sales training going forward? I'm not so sure about that. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that. Well, we haven't decided. As opposed to, have you used sales training in the past? Yes, we've used sales training in the past. Great. How did that work for you? Fabulous. And tell me, what sort of price did you pay for that? Okay. And did that give you the value and results you wanted? Brilliant. So if you were going to get sales training in the future, what sort of results would you expect to see? You don't talk about price, talk about results. So in the past, you've done this. In the future, you can talk about what they want to get. So you talk about tangibles like price, what they did, what they ordered, how many they ordered, what their ordering purchase, how did you order them in the past? But in the future, you talk about, so what sort of results would you like? What would you like the end result to be? What would you like? How would that make you feel if you could achieve those goals? Future, all the dirty stuff, all the tough stuff, past. No pressure talking about the past. They'll bring it to the future, talk about what they're going to achieve in the future tense. As I said, that's a real snapshot of something that's a much, much more intense thing. I've got a load of, we have a load of processes that help you understand that. And thank you, Linda. This will be recorded, by the way, so there will be a blog post on this with it recorded onto YouTube.
I'd actually just like to add on to the end of that. Mentioned in that sentence, Scott, you put, that's my fear, and you put the word expensive. So what you should really also think about is what your belief is of this product, because many people could tell you, oh, it's too expensive. But are you then losing belief in what you're selling? Are you then starting to believe it's too expensive and it doesn't have as much value? Because that's going to defeat you. So it's really important that you fully believe in what you're selling and that it adds value, because so many times, and I'm sure everyone's overcome this resistance many times also, people will say, oh, it's too expensive, but they will buy it. Why? Because it has value, and they might think it's too, they might say it's too expensive. It doesn't mean they can't afford it. And really interesting, just really quickly, as we're running out of time and we're conscious of that, when we had our educational software business, we were often sponsored by big tech companies to provide it to schools for free. Now, schools often say, you know, they've got all these tight budgets, things that are so difficult. And funnily enough, when you go and offer it for free, it doesn't hold as much value. So you'd think they'd jump at it. And it's not because the product wasn't amazing, because it was. But when something has a high ticket or has a high price value, it's very valuable and people appreciate it and they'll more likely use it more. So don't be afraid of expensive, and if you're believing it's expensive, then you're probably not believing enough in what you're selling.
Fabulous. Good answer, Bianca. Right, so we talked about we're going to cover two of the key factors combined with negative emotion, fear, that ensures salespeople all over the world struggle to get deals. I hope that you feel that we have given you good value for this webinar this evening and that you've enjoyed it. We've had some nice comments on there. That's been lovely. What are you doing? No questions. And as I said to you at the top, if you have enjoyed it, find one of us or both of us on LinkedIn. Say, I enjoyed that. It was really good. It was a great webinar. Make a little recommendation or an endorsement. That would be lovely. Either way, we'd love that. And drop us an email. You've got our email addresses, adam@cellularattitude.co.uk or bianca@cellularattitude.co.uk. We do have a little competition between us where whoever gets the most addresses for sending out the free gift will get a prize here, which we're going to share about who wins that prize, and I'm sure Bianca will get more. That's Bianca, BIANCA, that's Cellular Attitude. But either way, we're really happy that you've enjoyed it. We'd like to, we've got these masks and pads to send out for people, or free time management training stuff if you'd like. We've got another webinar on November the 3rd, which is US Election Day. So if you've really had enough of seeing how they are managing their company, I know we have a friend from the States with us. Hi, Holly. If you are sick of that, you can come and join us for the next one, and that is called Selling in a Mask. Has COVID changed the way salespeople do business? We think it has, and we have a solution that's going to help you sell irrespective of COVID. And then the last thing to mention is we do have a LinkedIn sales training event on the 27th of October, which is how to sell using LinkedIn, as opposed to treating it like a CV site. Some of you have come to us via LinkedIn and via our Level Up LinkedIn program, and we're happy to have you here. So I think that is everything. Bianca, do you have any comments that you'd like to do? We've even got, oh, Bianca's winning. She's already getting the emails.
Well, thank you all for coming. And yeah, we're going to be doing this once a month, our webinars. So hope to see you again. Please do spread the word, and really hope that you found it useful and walked away with new information, that you can go and implement straight away, because that's really what's important, that you can go and implement this and apply it to your own lives, to your own sales processes, and fill your pipelines even bigger. Please
email us, because we won't necessarily know that you attended if you don't. And we will send you some very nice things. And thank you so much. You will probably get an email about the blog, which will be up in a few days once we sort of edited it and tweaked around with it. And thank you very much for bearing with us through some technical difficulties in the early part. Unfortunately, what you don't realize is that Bianca said that this was going to happen. I said it wouldn't. She won. I'm in the doghouse. So there you go. I don't want the webinar ever to end, because the minute it ends, she's going to tell me off.
That's not true.
Great. Guys, thank you. Well, you're 100. Neil, you're absolutely right. These techniques are used to help. You are selling, really. You want people to give you their time, their effort. Neil's a project manager and doesn't talk about, he doesn't consider it in sales, but actually you want people in your teams to give you the most effort possible. You want them to give them their time. If you're a purchaser, the sell is for the customer, as the supplier, to give you the best deal possible and to give you priority when goods are being delivered. AJ was in as well. AJ, we've got to catch up.
And Jess and Oliver, lovely to see you guys. Thank you for coming.
I hope you've really all enjoyed it.
Oh, Raya's here. Hi, Raya.
Marvelous.
Fabulous, all the way from
And
Switzerland.
we've had Nick Pearman's here.
And Marcus.
Nick's one of our, and Wendy's here as well. Wendy, I didn't see, is sneaking in there down at the bottom. Brilliant. Chris Bentley, Brian Jennings. Brian, great. Hope you enjoyed it. Brilliant.
If you so if you did really enjoy this, we'd really appreciate recommendations on LinkedIn. And yeah, maybe we should do one on communication skills, because that's,
well, we have the communication matrix that we do after. Should we do the matrix one, sure?
Yeah, for sure. I think it'd be really interesting.
Well, then we'll fit that one in. We'll have to do that end of November, maybe, because once it comes to December, people have Christmas shopping.
No, they can fit us in. They can fit us in.
Okay, lovely. Well, look, guys. Well, we do actually do a communication skills course, so
because it's really useful for everyone, really, not just in sales. I mean, it's a core part of sales, but it's useful for everyone. So yeah,
fabulous, guys. We hope you've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed it, that's for sure. And I think, Bianca, that you did very well.
Well, I'm looking forward to my dinner. Dad's fasting, so go hide away.
How many hours have I done now? Let's have a quick check.
And thanks all for coming. It's been fabulous.
23 hours 20. Go to bed, wake up in the morning, I can eat again. Great. Thank you so much. We've loved it.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I'm Adam Caplan, and she's brilliant. Thank you very much, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.